Minister Keir Starmer is expected to formally announce the UK's recognition of a Palestinian state in a major change to UK foreign policy. It would make Britain the first G7 country to move towards full recognition, with France and other nations expected to follow suit at the UN General Assembly in the coming week. The Prime Minister promised the move 2 months ago unless Israel took substantive steps, including reaching a ceasefire in Gaza. Downing Street instead believes the situation in the territory has worsened as Israel intensifies its Gaza offensive, triggered by Hamas's unprecedented attack on southern Israel on October the 7th, 2023. The move has been criticised by the Israeli government. In the past few minutes, we've had some comments from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This is what he said. "We will have to fight both at the UN and in all other arenas against the false propaganda directed at us and the calls to establish a Palestinian state, which would endanger our existence and constitute an absurd reward for terrorism." He went on to say the international community will hear from us on this matter in the coming days. Well, with me is our political correspondent, Jack Fenwick. So, Jack, we are expecting a statement from Sir Keir Starmer.
That's right. We are expecting a statement from the Prime Minister. We're expecting that he will say the UK is going to formally recognise Palestinian statehood. Now, it's been the long-standing position of the UK government that it believes a two-state solution is the right way to go. Now, of course, that inevitably means that at some point you would have to recognise Palestinian statehood. One of the key questions is why Sir Keir Starmer, why this Labour government has decided to do this now. Now, some of the people who think now isn't the right time point to things such as Palestine not having internationally recognised borders, not having a legitimate government in the eyes of places like the UK, not having a capital, not having an army, these things that you would think of as making up a state as we know it. They say that because of all those things, now wouldn't be the time to do it. Sir Keir Starmer and other ministers say the situation on the ground is so bad that it risks a two-state solution becoming less likely.
Jack, I just want to pause you there because literally while you've been talking, we've had some news in from Canada, and Canada's Prime Minister, Carney, has today said that Canada recognises the state of Palestine. He goes on to say current Israeli government is working methodically to prevent the prospect of a Palestinian state from ever being established. So, and I'm just being told Australia as well has formally recognised the state of Palestine. That news just coming in. So confirmation from Canada and Australia, they're both formally recognising the state of Palestine. And this is what we expected, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is not a huge surprise. One of the things that we've seen with Sir Keir Starmer's foreign policy over recent months is that he's often done things in conjunction with allies like France, like Australia, like Canada. The fact that all these countries are making this move at the same time, they hope will be a pretty powerful bit of symbolism that they are not happy with what the Israeli government has been doing in Gaza. We know that they've given certain demands of the Israeli government, given a deadline of this weekend. Those demands haven't been met, particularly that they're not happy with what's been happening in the West Bank. We know that there have been Israeli settlements expanding there. The Deputy Prime Minister, David Lammy, said today that that was one of the main reasons why the UK had decided that now was the time to go. Now, I think we also shouldn't forget that some critics of the Prime Minister claim that actually some of this timing is to do with domestic politics. We know that Labour has lost support of some voters on the left of politics because of its initial stance on Gaza. We know that people like Jeremy Corbyn, like the Green Party, have been very loud about that, and I think will continue to be loud about that. So critics have said maybe that has played a role in this timing. Now, of course, ministers say that that's not at all the case. They will point to the fact that the international community appears to be doing this together. However, one country that won't be doing this is the United States. We know that this is not the way that Donald Trump thinks countries should be going. He made that very clear when he was in the UK on that state visit last week, sat next to Sir Keir Starmer, basically saying, I think you've got this one wrong. So that is some tricky diplomacy for the UK.
OK, Jack, if you are just joining us, the breaking news that we've had in the last couple of minutes is that Canada and Australia have both formally recognised a Palestinian state. I think we can show you, this is the post that the Australian government has put out, which is quite hard for me from where I can see to read, but we do know that their statement says Hamas must have no role in Palestine. So that formal recognition from the Australian government. Also, the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, has posted a statement on his X account which says Canada recognises the state of Palestine and offers our partnership in building the promise of a peaceful future for both the state of Palestine and the state of Israel. So that's the statement that the Prime Minister of Canada has posted. So Canada officially becoming the first G7 nation to recognise a Palestinian state. But as you said, Jack, we are expecting Sir Keir Starmer's statement to come shortly, probably after these two from Australia and Canada.
We're expecting it to follow suit. And I think something it's worth adding is that ministers have been pretty clear in recent days that even if they do take this step of recognising a Palestinian state, as we're expecting, they still expect the hostages to be released. They say that they will demand Hamas do that. They very much do not see Hamas as any sort of legitimate government in Palestine. And so I think that there are further questions about what sanctions they may put on Hamas. I think we can expect in the coming weeks to hear a bit more detail about the sort of sanctions that the UK will have on Hamas. And part of that is about saying to critics who've said you've put these conditions on the Israeli government but not on Hamas, part of that is about saying to them, well, hang on a moment, we are still demanding various things of that side as well. But again, it's just further evidence of this tightrope that countries like the UK, like France, like Canada are trying to navigate. And we are seeing today from some countries so far, and expecting to see from the UK, the precise language that they're going to use to try and navigate that tightrope.
Yes, the Australian government statement saying Australia's recognition of Palestine today alongside Canada, and they're saying, and Britain, is part of an international effort for a two-state solution. We've already had some reaction from the Israeli government. This happened because we knew that this was likely to happen today. And in the last hour, there's been a press conference in Israel with a spokesperson for the Israeli government delivering this message from Benjamin Netanyahu. Let's have a listen.
The Prime Minister has made it very clear to me that his message to nations that are taking the avenue to disregard the sheer utter chaos Hamas has thrusted Gaza into and Israel, including our soldiers, families, and of course hostages still held in Hamas captivity, that the people of Israel aren't going to commit suicide because of the political needs of European politics.
So that's the reaction, as you would expect, from Israel. And you were mentioning the US plays into this because, of course, Donald Trump has said this is the wrong thing to do.
He has. He's been very clear that he doesn't think this is the way to go. We know that he has been a real defender of Benjamin Netanyahu, of the Israeli government, much more so than countries such as the UK. What we've seen over recent months is a real hardening of language from countries like the UK towards Israel, towards what has been happening in Gaza. So that is why this doesn't come as a huge surprise. It feels like the conclusion to a lot of that hardening of language. Government sources have said that it's simply intolerable, the pictures that we've seen in Gaza in recent weeks. And they've said that the very idea of a peace has become less likely because of the events in recent weeks and even in recent days, David Lammy said this morning. That's why they feel that they've had to act now. And of course, we've got the United Nations General Assembly about to happen in New York. So that is one of those big diplomatic moments where something like this can be coordinated and can happen.
Jack, I just want to pause you because I can now read you in full the Australian statement. So this coming from the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, and Penny Wong, who is the Foreign Affairs Minister. Let me read you in full. It says, effective today, Sunday, the 21st of September 2025, the Commonwealth of Australia formally recognises the independent and sovereign state of Palestine. In doing so, Australia recognises the legitimate and long-held aspirations of the people of Palestine to a state of their own. It goes on to say Australia's recognition of Palestine today, alongside Canada and the United Kingdom, is part of a coordinated international effort to build new momentum for a two-state solution, starting with a ceasefire in Gaza and the release of hostages taken in the atrocities of October the 7th, 2023. Today's act of recognition reflects Australia's long-standing commitment to a two-state solution, which has always been the only path to enduring peace and security for the Israeli and Palestinian peoples. The international community has set out clear requirements for the Palestinian Authority. The president of the Palestinian Authority has restated its recognition of Israel's right to exist and given direct undertakings to Australia, including commitments to hold democratic elections and enact significant reforms to finance, governance and education. The terrorist organisation Hamas must have no role in Palestine. Further steps, including the establishment of diplomatic relations and opening of embassies, will be considered as the Palestinian Authority makes progress on its commitments to reform. Already crucial work is underway across the international community to develop a credible peace plan that enables the reconstruction of Gaza, builds the capacity of the State of Palestine and guarantees the security of Israel. The leadership of the countries of the Arab League and the United States is vital to this task. Australia will continue to work with our international partners to help build on today's act of recognition and to bring the Middle East closer to the lasting peace and security and that is the hope and right of all humanity. So that's the statement from the Australian government. They coming at the same time that we've had the statement from the Canadian government. Now, interestingly, in that statement from the Australian government, it also said and the United Kingdom. Now, we are still waiting for a statement from Sir Keir Starmer. I'm being told that we do have now a statement, Jack, that just coming in literally within the last few seconds.
That's right. Sir Keir Starmer has posted on social media to say today to revive the hope of peace for the Palestinians and Israelis and a two-state solution, the United Kingdom formally recognises the state of Palestine. He's also posted a video statement going into more detail about that. So as we were expecting, confirmation that the UK has, at the same time as allies such as Australia, such as Canada, taken this significant diplomatic move to recognise Palestinian statehood. We know that Sir Keir Starmer had been put under pressure by some people within his own party and by some parts of the UK political scene to do this. Now, for many months, he had resisted doing that. He had said that you had to wait until the right time in the peace process before using this mechanism. Clearly, the UK and others have decided now is that time.
Yeah, we are going to get that video statement that you can see that has been posted on social media by the Prime Minister and bring it to you. But we're also expecting at some point in the next week France to join this as well, aren't we?
Yeah, and France were one of the first of this group of countries to say that they believe this was the right direction to go in, although they've not formally done it yet. We are very much expecting that they will be a part of this as well. Now, we've heard some of the criticism from one side, people like Donald Trump, like the Conservatives here in the UK, saying why they don't think this is a good idea because they don't think it's the right time for the peace process. But I just want to bring you a bit of more reaction in terms of some criticism from the other side as well. We've heard from Amnesty International. They're saying that recognition is no doubt significant, but will be a hollow gesture if the UK does not also seek to end what they call Israel's genocide. Now, I think there will be people who come out and say things like this. They're effectively saying words aren't by themselves enough. Now, in terms of that word genocide, we know that is a word that the UN body recently used, but we also know that it's a word that the UK government has not used to describe events in Israel. They've suggested that they are waiting for an international court to make a ruling to decide whether or not they are going to use that term. But I think now they've taken this step, there will again be people within their party, people on the left of British politics, asking them to take that further step as well.
Jack, stay with us. I just want to read again that post that we've just had from the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, on social media. He says, today, to revive the hope of peace for the Palestinians and Israelis and a two-state solution, the United Kingdom formally recognises the state of Palestine, and that coming after similar statements from both Australia and Canada. Let us get some reaction to this. Let's go live to Ramallah in the West Bank, and our correspondent there is John Donnison. John, how is this going to go down there?
Well, look, I think Jack is right in that this is significant because it shows the growing frustration with Israel's conduct of the war in Gaza and also its actions in the West Bank. And because of that, most Palestinians will welcome it. But I think the vast majority will think it's too little too late, and it will change probably absolutely nothing on the ground. Well, I'm joined now here in Ramallah by Mustafa Barghouti. He's head of the Palestinian National Initiative. What's your reaction?
Well, we welcome the recognition, especially that's coming from several countries. That recognition confirms and affirms the rights of the Palestinian people for self-determination. They negate the Israeli de facto measures on the ground, including the Israeli absolutely fascist law, which says that the right of self-determination on the land of Palestine is exclusive for Jewish people. It's an important step also to correct the sin of Balfour Declaration, which hurt the Palestinian people so much.
But it's not going to change anything, is it?
Well, it will if it is associated with what's necessary. Recognition by itself is not enough. What we need are now sanctions on Israel, punitive acts, exactly like has happened with Russia. You can't impose 11,000 sanctions on Russia in less than 2 months and none on Israel, which has been discriminating against us, oppressing us, ethnically cleansing us for 77 years. So recognition, thank you, but that's not enough. We need sanctions immediately.
There are many Palestinians and many Israelis who say it's done, the idea of a Palestinian state. It's too late. There are too many settlements, too many settlers. It's too late. There needs to be something else.
They say so, but the right of the Palestinian people for freedom will never be gone. They don't want two-state solution. We'll have to have one democratic state with equal rights for everybody. There is something that should be clear to everybody. Nobody will break our will or our determination to be free from oppression, occupation, and this terrible Israeli discrimination.
Most Palestinians will tell you that in the last 2 years, it's got harder for them here in the West Bank. More checkpoints, more Israeli military operations, more confiscation of land. Is there a danger that Israel will respond to this in a way that makes life even harder for Palestinians here?
It's the other way around. I mean, these recognitions coming too late from some countries like Britain and Australia and Canada are happening because these countries finally saw that Israel is destroying the very last opportunity of two-state solution. So these countries are responding to what Israel is doing and not the other way around. Now, if Israel proceeds, it has to be subjected to sanctions. It has to be isolated, as it is now becoming isolated with the United States if it continues to support Israel. But eventually, we will win. Eventually, we will get our freedom. What is happening today in Palestine to the Israeli side is exactly like what happened to the South African apartheid system at one point of time. They think they will kill the two-states option as an option. We'll demand one democratic state and equal rights for everybody.
I've not seen a statement from Hamas today reacting to this, but they will see this as a victory. As Prime Minister Netanyahu says, it's a victory for Hamas. It's a reward for them.
No, it's not a victory for Hamas or for Fatah or for us. It's a victory for the Palestinian people.
Okay.
What you deal here with are the Palestinian people and not this faction or that faction.
Okay, Mustafa Barghouti from the Palestinian National Initiative. Thank you very much indeed. We'll be getting more reaction from here in Ramallah as well as also in Israel later on in the programme.
Thank you very much, John Johnson there in Ramallah. If you are